Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Mother of the demigods, I have already understood your long-cherished desires. For the welfare of your sons, who have been deprived of all opulences and driven from their residence by their enemies. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, and especially in the hearts of His devotees, is always ready to help devotees in adversity. Since He knows everything, He knows how things are to be adjusted, and He does the needful to relieve the suffering of His devotees. Om Gantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadha Shri Vasdi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very instructive pastime of the deity and the demigods. It's a pastime of Bali Maharaj, and we can see the difference between a deity and Bali Maharaj in this pastime, in their outlook. Bali Maharaj was born in a demon family, so therefore automatically by that association he had those tendencies. But sometimes Prabhupada explains that even in pious families demons are born, and sometimes in demons' families devotees are born. So this is a contradictory thing, but this does happen from time to time, and this seems to have happened with Bali Maharaj. His great, also Prahlad Maharaj, he was born in a demon family. He was the grandfather of Bali Maharaj. So by that birth and that, in Bhagavad Gita it says that Arjuna, because he was born in the family of Krishna's cousin Kunti, and also what was it? And his father's line was Bharat. He had He had an obligation to be pious and set an example for everybody else. He was obliged to do that. He had no choice. So this is what it means when we take on a high birth, that we're not just taking that birth for our own benefit, but we have an obligation. We have, I forget what the word they use. What's the word it's used in the Bhagavad Gita? Can anybody remember? Yeah. It behooves you, anyway. It behooves you to follow in their footsteps. And so we'll see how Bali Maharaj did that. even though he had demoniac tendencies. The story goes that he served his spiritual master, Shukracharya, very nicely, and in doing so, Shukracharya was pleased, and he benedicted him with so many opulences, unlimited power, very powerful weapons. So this is the one lesson we learn, is that we tend to think, or personally speaking, we can tend to think that we're getting our ability to perform service from our own volition, from our own ability, and it's dormant. It's dormant within us. I remember when I first came to devotional service, we were doing, we weren't doing what we're doing now. We were different paraphernalia, but I wasn't doing so bad actually. I was thinking, wow, if I'd known I'd have got this power before I became a devotee. This hidden talent. But then as time went on, I realised that it's not my ability. It's coming from, but we forget, it's coming from Krishna. It's coming from the mercy of the spiritual master. We keep hearing this, by the mercy of the spiritual master. We sing every morning. One gets the benediction of Krishna. Without that mercy, there's nothing we can do. And actually there's nothing so true. It's 100%. It's not that we get a little bit ourselves. If the spiritual master's not pleased, then there's not very much we can do in devotional service. It's all coming by this process of parampara. This is what the fourth verse of the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is talking about. That it's coming through Vivasvan, then to Manu, then to Ikshvaku. This knowledge is passed on. So we should all remember that point, that, Prabhupada, he had to adjust things in the beginning. His first disciples didn't understand this process very nicely, but he just initiated them anyway. And then afterwards he put the rules and regulations up. So we can't do that nowadays. But we should be very serious about seeing where the mercy is coming from. And so Bali Maharaj got that mercy, even though he was a seminal guru. Shukra means seminal. He was a family guru. He wasn't actually a chosen guru or, acquired guru. He was acquired from his parents. But still the same principle works. Even in India, people, they accept this, whatever they're doing, even in sport, they have that tendency to understand that this is coming by the mercy of my superiors, this ability. So anyway, we'll move on. So then, Bali Maharaj had been defeated by Indra. He'd been brought back to life. He'd been killed in the battle, and he'd been brought back to life by his spiritual master. And now he was going to have another go. This is the material world. People are indefatigable. They'll keep trying and trying to enjoy the material energy. So Bali Maharaj, he rolled his sleeves up and he set off for the heavenly planets. And then when Indra and the demigods, they saw him coming, they thought, wow, look at this. He's endowed with so much power, and they were a little perturbed. And so they went to see Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the spiritual master of the demigods. And Brihaspati said, don't even try to fight them. He says, they're far too powerful. Discretion is the better part of valor in this particular situation. So discreetly they all went to different parts of the universe and hid. And so, of course, Bali Maharaj overtook the heavenly planets, and they were living there. But Aditi, she started to feel a little bit uneasy. Why her lads couldn't have the rightful claim. They were rightful claim for the higher planets. And so she went to her husband, Kashyapa Muni, and said, are you going to do something about this? What are you going to do? And Kashyapa Muni, he said, what can I do? He says, this is the way the material world works. Just wait, and in due course of time, everything will be normalized. What goes up comes down. There's good and there's bad. Things will change. We have to wait for that particular time. So this is the outlook of a devotee. Is that right? That we have to tolerate. We have to tolerate situations. And the tendency is want to try and put things right when things are wrong, but we should try, but we shouldn't over-endeavour. We should also see that behind everything is is the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so in that way we can understand. Prahlad Maharaj said to his school friends that, what's that verse? Endrams, Sukham enjikam decha, deho yogina dehina. He says that the happiness perceived with the senses can be experienced in any form of life. It's experienced in every form of life. Such happiness and distress is coming due to past work. It says, therefore, one shouldn't try to over-endeavour to get out of this situation. One should tolerate. The first instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, tolerate. Because if we don't tolerate, it means we're immediately caught up in material consciousness. We're not understanding what's happening. Material activities, material interactions, they're coming through our karma. We've got rid of our one karma. What's that? Prarabdha karma. We've got one thing that we can't get rid of this body. Maybe this mind can be adjusted, but we've got this body, we can't change that. But we still may have some. And also for a devotee, it's not just the karma, it's the mercy of the Supreme Lord. If we're actually surrendering to Krishna, He's putting us in situations whereby we can become quickly purified. And so actually a devotee's got no, what's the word? He's got nothing to lament about. Because every situation, good or bad, is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And therefore it's meant for our advancement. So this is a platform of peacefulness. Bhaktaram yagitapasam, sarvam loka maheshwaram, suridam sarvabhutam, gyatfamam shantim richiti. That when we understand Krishna is the owner of everything, we don't try to own anything. Krishna is the enjoyer of everything. What's the point in trying to enjoy anything in this world? And that Krishna is, above all, the Suridam Sarvabhutanam. Hrit is in the heart. He's a well-wishing friend in the heart. And therefore, one who can remember this, then he's never in anxiety. We're always satisfied. So anyway, Aditi wasn't on that platform by the appearance of this, how it's appearing in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe it was Lord Krishna's arrangement. But she was unfazed by Kashyapa Muni's reply. And she wanted to have something done straight away. We've been waiting long enough. The demigods should be in the rightful place. Why are these demons inhabiting the rightful place of the demigods? And so Kashyapa Muni had nothing to offer, but he said, okay, I'll give you another benediction then. He said, if you perform this vow, this Payovrata vow, very nicely, then you will get the Supreme Personality of Godhead as your son. And then anything can be done in that situation. He can fulfill all your desires. And so she was satisfied with this one. She didn't follow the first instruction, it was the second one. And so, and then of course she performed the vow, and in due course of time, Vamanadev, the Supreme Lord, became her son. So now this is the point we're at. So it's talking about adversity, which we've just spoken about. Adversity, is adversity a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think? Hands up, who thinks it's a good thing? Hands up, who thinks it's a bad thing? We all know the answer. It's actually a good thing, we've just mentioned that. Adversity, I remember one devotee approached his spiritual master, he said, "Oh, Guru Maharaj, I'm having such a rough time, so many problems." He says, "Problems are good." It was your son, wasn't it? Was it Madhu? It was your... I think it was, yeah. He said, "Problems are good." But we can't see like that because it's painful to our false ego and to our material consciousness, that's all. So I was reading the other day how devotional service really starts when we come off the bodily platform. While ever we're on the bodily platform, we'll suffer. We have to get off the bodily platform. Everything's forcing us off the bodily platform. Have you noticed? The situation we're put into, we have to try not to react. The body's growing older. There's nothing we can do about it. We have to tolerate. The only solace is to get off the bodily platform. We're being pushed off it by the laws of nature. So this is the beginning of devotional service, when we can actually tolerate, and then not tolerate just by gritting our teeth, but tolerate with knowledge, and then we can start to understand something about working above the modes of nature. And so, of course, she later on, we'll see how Aditi, she spoke to Vamanadev and asked if she could have, he asked her if she wanted a benediction, and she said, "Yeah, I would like the demigods to have their rightful place of residence back." And so Vamanadev agreed, and so he approached, who was it? He approached Bali Maharaj. And because of his beauty, Bali Maharaj was immediately captivated just by the sight of the Supreme Lord. And he made up in his mind, "I'll give this young Brahman anything he wants." And then when Vamanadev began to speak, he was so enchanted by his sweet language. He said, "Please tell me, what benediction can I give you? I'm so pleased with you." And Vamanadev said, "Just give me 3 paces of land." And of course, Bali Maharaj was 3 paces of land. He said, "I can give you the whole universe if you want." He says, "Come on, this is an opportunity, don't miss it." This is material consciousness. And so, what did Vamanadev say? He says, "If I'm not satisfied with 3 paces of land, I'll never be satisfied with anything in this material world." So it means whatever material acquisitions we aspire for, it'll actually only increase our anxiety and troubled mind. What's the word? It'll only increase our discomfort in this world. The more we want, the more we get, the more we want. In Gita it explains how fire is never satisfied. Lust is never satisfied, in other words. Fire is never satisfied by any amount of fuel supplied to it. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And so it's equated to lust. Similarly, lust, if it's not overcome in the heart, and we feed that lust, we get more and more of what we want, then we'll just become more and more disturbed, more and more lusty. We see that, don't we, in the newspapers. I don't know whether anybody's read any newspapers lately. It's on the internet now all the time. Eh? Occasionally have a look now and again. But, we see that it's the people who are most successful in the world, they're the ones who are in the headlines. They're the ones who are onto drugs, or they've run off with somebody else's wife, or they're not satisfied. The person who's satisfied is the one who has got less. Is the story of one rich man in India. He was looking through his window, and his wife, he looked so miserable. His wife said, "Can't you smile? What's the matter with you? You've got everything. You've got, money. You've got a beautiful wife, lovely kids." And so she said, "What are you looking at anyway?" And he says, "I'm just looking out here." And she saw this sadhu. He'd only got a begging bowl and a staff. And he said, "What are you looking at him for?" I said, "I want to be like him." She said, "You must be mad, he hasn't got anything. He says, I know. He says, he's happy. There's nothing to bother him. And so this is a fact. And so when Krishna does take everything away, starts to take things away, initially we think, oh my God. And we become really disturbed. After a while we think, good riddance. I didn't need it anyway. Now I can concentrate on what's important. Anyway, this is another lesson. And so, where did we get to? So then, Bali Maharaj, he said, Tatastu, so be it, you take 3 paces of land. And, of course, Bali Maharaj, Vamanadevi immediately started expanding. And he put one foot into outer space, and then he put the next foot through the universe, and he said to Bali Maharaj, where shall I put the third one? And Bali Maharaj realized that he's got no way to put it. He said, put it on my head. And so this is what he did. And actually, what did they call Bali Maharaj's wife? I haven't read this. I forgot what they call her. She said, you fool, you think it's your head to put it on. He said, it doesn't belong to you anyway. And so this is another lesson, that we think we're surrendering something. We've got nothing to surrender. It's like walking into a bank and saying, I surrender all the money in this bank. Same thing. And then, of course, Bali Maharaj, he was treated very nicely by Vamanadev. Is that right? No, he bound him in the ropes of Varuna in front of all his relatives. He made a complete fool out of him. And then he sentenced him to go down to the lower planets. So sometimes when we surrender to Krishna, it seems like, we're not getting what we thought we would get. But then Vamanadev started to reveal the real benediction that he'd got. He said, you will have Prahlad Maharaj as your friend down. He will be personally there with you all the time. He had an association of a pure devotee. He said, I'll personally guard your home so that no demons can interrupt you. He says, and also that planet is more opulent than the higher planets and the heavenly planets. He says, you'll reign there for, I think it was 30,000 years, and then you will come back to the heavenly planets. You'll reign here for an extended period of time, and then of course, because you become purified, it'll go back to Godhead. And, so the point is that, anyway, we'll come back to this. But Aditi, he surrendered straight away, even though he wasn't well situated according to external vision. But Aditi, she was well situated, high birth, born in the family of devotees, mother of the demigods, also devotees. But she didn't follow that original instruction and tolerate. So she got a bit of a materialistic benediction. And what did she get? Yes, she got the heavenly planets back. That's all. In this pastime anyway. So we'll get what we want materially. Krishna will see to that. He wants his devotees to be he's trying to keep his devotees in a peaceful frame of mind, so that we can practice devotional service. And so sometimes he has to give us things which are not so good for us just to keep us satisfied. So this is what happened to Aditi. But Bali Maharaj, he was in an awkward situation. He just completely surrendered. And he got everything. So this pastime is very instructive in that way, that it doesn't matter what particular situation we're in at any particular time. It's a good situation, and we can make progress from that situation. We tend to think that the more beneficial for me materially this situation, the more satisfying to the mind, then I'm well situated. But not necessarily. So I'll just read this purport again. It's very instructive. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, and especially in the hearts of his devotees, is always ready to help devotees in adversity. Since he knows everything, he knows how things are to be adjusted, and he does the needful to relieve the suffering of his devotees. Not immediate suffering, but long-term suffering. Immediate suffering may be there, but long-term suffering, that means freedom from material life. Anybody got any questions?